Today in our Point-Counterpoint segment, the race for delegates presses on. Our next primary is set for next week. Joining us today, we have Matt Makoviak from the Potomac Strategy Group and Ed Espinoza from Progress, Texas. Thank you so much for joining me, gentlemen.
Sure.
When asked about the possibility of a brokered convention, Donald Trump possibly being denied a nomination despite having the most delegates, Trump said, "I'd think you'd have riots." Do you feel the establishment is stuck and they'll have to eventually back Trump? We'll start with you, Matt.
I don't know. The big question is going to be, does Trump hit the magic number of 1,237 delegates, and does he do it by June 7th, the last day of the contests? My guess is he's less likely to hit that number than he is likely. Kasich winning Ohio, I think, made that path very difficult for him. And so the question becomes, how close does he get to 1,237? And is there a path for Cruz to perhaps become the delegate leader? Maybe not hit 1,237, but be the delegate leader. So that's kind of where this thing heads from here on out. If Trump doesn't hit 1,237, that's where you get to an open convention. On the second ballot, 75% of the pledged delegates become unpledged. They can go any way they want. They can support anyone they want. And that's where you could have a Cruz-Rubio or Cruz-Kasich ticket or partnership that could overcome Trump's delegate lead.
Ed, do you agree?
No, I think it's really difficult to stop Donald Trump at this point. He's on the path to getting 1,237 by June, but for somebody like Ted Cruz to be able to get there, he has to win 92% of the available delegates between now and then. He might be mathematically still in the race, but statistically it's over for him during the primaries. If you throw in some of the other delegates, his probability drops down to he needs 82% of the delegates. It's just too high. He hasn't demonstrated an ability to really win all of the support of the other candidates who have dropped out. Only two have endorsed him, one of which is from Texas. And I don't think a Cruz-Kasich ticket can do any better. They still need to win like 60% of the delegates. This is Trump's world, and Republicans are living in it, and the only way to stop him is to do something at convention at this point.
Now, it's pretty clear-cut for Hillary. On the flip side, she'll get the nomination. Moving forward, any other challenges that you see for her? Ed, let's start with you.
Well, I think that she's going to get the nomination by June, if not sooner. Bernie will stay in the race. I don't really see a whole lot of roadblocks for her. Republicans are going to throw the kitchen sink at her like they always do, but they got a lot of housekeeping to do of their own right now. So I think that what's going to happen with Clinton is she's going to have a lead that's going to be insurmountable soon enough, and you're going to start hearing talk about vice presidential picks, of which our own Julian Castro's name will be in the mix, and I think the race will really turn to that subject eventually.
Matt?
Yeah, I think Hillary's clearly going to be the nominee unless she's indicted between now and June 7th when the contest ends. Ed, you can laugh. There's 100 different FBI agents investigating the Clinton Foundation right now, according to a former FBI agent. So we know this process is coming to the end. Ed, why did they give her IT person at the State Department immunity? Is it because they didn't think there was a crime committed? So this is going forward. I think there will be a criminal referral to the Attorney General. Whether the Attorney General not chooses to seek an indictment remains to be seen. That situation has to get resolved. But politically speaking, Hillary's in a strong position. The problem on the Democratic side is you don't have winner-take-all states. Everything's proportional from here on out. So Hillary has an insurmountable lead, but she can't probably hit the magic number she needs of 2,300 or so delegates until probably May. And so this race does go on, and Hillary's going to have to unite the left wing after she becomes a nominee, and I think that'll be a challenge as well.
And Marco Rubio, let's just talk about him briefly. He dropped out of the race, but in his concession speech, he repeatedly alluded to the threat that he thinks Trump poses to the nation. So where do you think Rubio supporters will go?
Yeah, on the polling that we've seen on this, we've seen like 70 or 75% of Rubio supporters go to Cruz. Today, or actually last night in Minnesota, Rubio said Cruz is the only conservative left in the race. My hope is Rubio does choose to endorse Cruz fairly soon. We do need the party to unite behind him. Kasich, you were talking about percentages. Ed, Kasich needs like 110% of the delegates from here on out. It's not just about hitting 1,237. It's about being close to Trump in delegates or perhaps overtaking him as delegate leader. That is a path that Cruz has that's much easier than getting to 1,237. Let's say Trump's at 1,100 and Cruz is at 1,000. That's close enough that Cruz could win on the second or third or fourth ballot, particularly if he can somehow get Rubio's delegates and or Kasich's delegates.
I mean, it's not a reality, though. He hasn't demonstrated an ability to do that, and Cruz's big case right now is that he wants to be one-on-one. He wants Kasich to drop out of the race. But Cruz hasn't demonstrated an ability to coalesce voters in his column against Trump. I think if it's a one-on-one race, it may not go the way Cruz wants it to go, and you may actually have a stronger mandate for Trump. So I think this is going to go for a long time, and that I don't think that they can catch up to Trump. and they're going to have, if they don't resolve this before the primaries are over, they're going to have to resolve it at convention. It's going to get ugly.
One more question before we go. President Obama just yesterday nominated Merrick Garland to the Supreme Court, a judge who's garnered respect from both sides of the aisle, but the lobbying begins. Senate Majority Leader, as we just reported earlier, Mitch McConnell already said no meeting, no vote. A lot of Republicans agree. What do you all see happening here?
Look, this is the level of stubbornness we are seeing over the Supreme Court nomination is unprecedented. The president was elected to make these decisions. He is 3 years into a 4-year term. The American public agrees by 2 to 1 that a Supreme Court nominee should have a hearing and should get an up or down vote. But Republicans came out against this before they even knew who the nominee was. So I think that this is childish behavior. I think that they owe it to the American people to have hearings and to have a vote and to see this thing through. The president has a constitutional duty that he has upheld. Now the Senate needs to do theirs.
Matt, what do you think?
Yeah, it's not about the nominee. And Obama, filibustered Supreme Court nominees in the past. There have been a number of nominees for high court vacancies, forgetting the Hispanic nominee that was nominated 5 or 6 years ago that didn't even get a hearing. Look, there's a number of people the Democrats have blocked. Look, this is about process. The President of the United States, in his last year in office, has not nominated and confirmed a Supreme Court justice since 1940. This is a lifetime appointment that would forever change the Supreme Court because you have a swing vote, so you would have a liberal court for 20 or 30 years. That's not going to happen before the election. You could perhaps see a confirmation in the lame duck. That is a possibility after the election if Hillary's elected. But no, they're not going to do a background check. They're not going to meet with him. They're not going to do hearings. This is not going anywhere.
All right, thank you both for coming in.
Thank you.
Thanks.